Today's lesson is on literal formulas and solving. So it's a follow-up lesson from the other day where we just solved for individual variables in literal formulas. Now we're going to do real-life applications. So let's get started. Our essential question for today is, how can I use literal formulas to solve real-life problems or real-life applications? We're going to go through a few examples, so let's get started. The first example says, using the formula D equals RT, determine how fast Jose was able to complete a 245-mile trip in 3.5 hours. First things first, we need to look in the problem and find out what information they tell us and what they're asking us to solve for. The first thing that I recognize is it's a 245-mile trip. That's our distance. It takes 3.5 hours. That's our time. And they're asking us to determine how fast. That is our rate. So in the formula, D equals RT, they're asking us to solve for the rate. So we want to get R by itself. The way you get R by itself is to divide both sides by T. The T's are going to cancel out, and you get R is equal to D over T, or D over T equals R. And now what that allows us to do is just substitute the values in. So 245 over 3.5 equals R. When you do that division problem, you get 70. And that turns into 70 miles per hour. The reason why we know it's miles per hour is because the 245 is miles, and the 3.5 is hours, which allows us to have miles per hour. Why don't you pause your computer and copy that one down, and we'll move on to the next example. In the second example, it says, using the formula C equals 2 pi r, determine the radius of a circle that has a circumference of 188.4 inches. Again, I want to look at the problem, figure out what information they tell us, and what information they're asking us to find. The first thing that I notice is that they're saying that circumference is 188.4 inches. That is our C. The second thing is they want us to determine the radius. That is our R. So when you are given the formula, C equals 2 pi r, we want to solve for R. 2 and pi are being multiplied by r, so the inverse of that is divide by 2 pi on both sides. The 2 and the pi cancel out, and our new formula would read C over 2 pi equals R. And again, what that allows us to do is substitute 188.4 in for C, and then convert pi into 3.14. And now we have a simple problem where we're going to multiply 2.2 times 3.14 in the denominator, and you would get 188.4 over 6.28. And then we would do a division problem, and you would get 30 inches. And then when we know it's inches is because their circumference is measured in inches. Our third example has a different formula. And this formula says, using the formula P equals 2W plus 2L, determine the length of a rectangle if the perimeter is 44 inches and the width is 15 inches. Again, I want to look at the problem and figure out what information they tell me and what they're looking for. So let's start. First thing it says, determine the length. That's going to be our L. The second thing it tells us is that the perimeter is 44 inches. That's our P. The last thing it tells us is the width is 15 inches. That's our W. So I want to solve for L. So if I have the formula, whoop, I went real fast on that one. P equals 2W plus 2L. I'm going to subtract 2W from both sides. They're going to cancel out. And my new line would look like this. P minus 2W equals 2L. Now I need to get L by itself, and I notice that L is being multiplied by 2. So I am going to divide by 2. The 2's are going to cancel out on the right, and my new formula will read P minus 2W over 2 equals L. I could simplify the left side one step further, but for what we're doing right now, it's not essential, and it does get confusing. So I'm going to pass on that. So what that allows us to do is take our 44 inches and substitute it in for P, and take our 15 inches and substitute it in for W. So we would get this. 44 minus 2 times 15 divided by 2 equals L. And we simplify the left side. We're going to distribute the 2 and the 15 first. So 44 minus 30 over 2. Then we subtract 44 minus 30 and get 14. And then 14 divided by 2 would be 7. So our length would be 7. That is how you utilize literal formulas in order to solve real-life applications. Why don't you write everything down, and if you struggled with this, please go back and watch it again. If you're still struggling with my instruction, go find some other videos on YouTube or online that will describe and explain literal formulas so that you have a better understanding. I hope this lesson helped, and again, watch it more than once for a better understanding. Have a great day.